Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna 562 XP. The owner complaint is that it doesn't run very good. It's low on power. It gets warm. Sometimes it dies, and it definitely won't restart warm. So this saw is under warranty, so we're going to have to go step by step here and make sure we don't miss anything on a diagnosis. As with most of the repairs that you'll see me do on this channel, one of the first things I do is check see what's in the fuel tank. I mean, is it some kind of pond scum or is it good fuel? And then I check the integrity of the fuel line by pressure testing it. So the fuel line looked good. The fuel in the tank looked good. The next thing we want to do is take a look inside the cylinder. Now you'll notice when I pulled them clips off of there that I don't just hit it with a screwdriver and let the clip fly open. I usually back up the clip. They seem to break less if you do it that way. Or I should say they seem to break less often. So we're just going to blow some debris out of the way here and then take our handy dandy scrunch and yank that spark plug out of there. She looks pretty gray. What do you think? What does the inside of that cylinder look like? Now these 10mm spark plug holes, it's kind of hard to get this flashlight in there and be able to see anything in there. And I'm not quite sure what I'm eyeballing, so we're going to pull the muffler off and take a closer look. I think the guy at Husky must have been pretty husky who tightened them bolts up. Them are snug. I'm trying to keep these videos as much real time as I can. You know, most of these repairs don't take that long anyway. So you'll see a lot of boring detail. So what's my first reaction? I guess it's scored, huh? And because I put a block off plate on the muffler there, you know that I'm going to be pressure testing this. So don't be one of them guys who just sees a scored cylinder and yanks the cylinder off to get a closer look. Especially if it's a warranty claim, we need to find out why this failed. So we're going to pressure test it. But you can't do that if you already yanked the cylinder off. So one thing at a time and we'll get there. We'll get our air box holder out of the way. There's a line on the back of the primer bulb that's tied into the back of the air box. Get that out of our way. Then we'll realize that there's still fuel in the tank, so we're going to want to drain that out. Looks like I might have got some on me, eh? Alright, the next step is to remove the throttle cable. You just kind of lift it out of the little holder that it's in. It'll roll out of that cam real easy. Then we're going to pop the fuel line off this side of the carburetor. Get your head out of the way, we can't see nothing. Then there's a little plastic clip that kind of holds the carb snapped into place. There we go. And we'll just set that off to the side. So we've got the factory Husqvarna block off kit. I suppose you could use like rubber stoppers, but we got the kit, why wouldn't we use it? So with those two aluminum plugs in place, we're now going to put this plate over the main intake. And don't get carried away tightening these screws down. When I saw this video and I realized how tight I tightened that screw right there. Was that my doorbell? I ain't heard the doorbell ring in decades. Hang on a minute. No, man, that wasn't the doorbell. I think the wind was just blowing some wind chimes around. We're good. Okay, I threaded the adapter into the spark plug hole for my pressure tester. This is some awesome video footage here. You can't even see the damn pressure tester. So let me tell you what it's doing. As I'm pumping it, the needle's coming up, the needle's coming up. Let's see, you're on that side. Okay, the needle's coming up, the needle's coming up. And when I stop pumping, the needle's just coming down like this. And you can see the bubbles here. I got a leak around the base of my tester, and I got a leak around the base of the decomp button. And that leak around the decomp button is the base gasket of it, not the little hole that the pressure runs out of. So we squirted some Mr. Bubbles on there, and you can really see it, how it's leaking there now. So we're going to pull that decomp valve out of there, and we're going to thread a plug into there. Because even though I know it's leaking at the decomp, I have to know if that's the only place that it's leaking. The surface of the cylinder that the decomp gasket would seal to looks fine. So we'll crank this plug in there. And this time we get to actually see the gauge. I'm going to pump it up to 7 pounds of pressure. And we're going to let it sit for 4 minutes. And when we come back to it, you'll see that the gauge is in the same spot. I didn't give you a lot of time to see it, but it was still at 7 pounds. Then we flip our Mighty Vac over to vacuum, and we're going to pull 7 inches of mercury. There's 7. We're going to come back in 4 minutes, and it's still right up there. Might be down to 6, but that's a pass. So we know that the decomp was the only air leak that this saw had. And we'll use that information when we're doing the warranty claim. But we're going to get into the saw a little bit and see, can we just put a top end on it? How bad's the scoring? Is the bottom end contaminated? Did the bearings on the bottom end suffer? We'll get this cylinder off of here, and there's the big reveal. Now, I've seen a lot of people look at a piston like this and say, well, there's no oil in the gas. Well, look at this side. You can see that it's wet and shiny from oil. If there's no oil in the gas, explain where that came from. And use that knowledge when you're watching some of these videos on YouTube where people are making claims. It's not possible to have one side dry and the other side wet with oil if there was no oil in it at all. I mean, looking down into the crankcase, you should see oil in there if the saw had oil in the fuel mix. So this ran lean, but not oil and gas lean. It ran fuel mix, too much air lean. So we're taking a look here, see how much debris ended up in the crankcase. If we think that we can just put a top end on it and move forward with the repair, or if the bottom end might have been compromised. And then we'll make our warranty claim based on what we find. So I kind of just really wanted to point out the whole oily piston. Even though it looks roached 180 degrees around the piston, it's not necessarily because there's no oil in the fuel. It'd be roached 360 degrees around that piston, or at least have some kind of scoring on the intake side if there was no oil in the gas. So let's put that one to rest. Alright, that's all I got for you on the 562 XP decomp valve leak. Thanks for watching. Later.